providing us with material on a daily basis. You help us do our jobs, and I'm so appreciative. Because of people like you, a former prosecutor and legal expert can become a fixture on a show like this. And again, I'm so grateful. I admit I may not have spent as much time in a courtroom as you have.
That's a good one.
I was also recognized with a Special Achievement Award by the Department of Justice. You remember the Department of Justice, right? It's the agency that's been pursuing you for decades. And like Madam Vice President Kamala Harris, I've had a history of prosecuting sex offenders. So thank you for keeping people like us in business.
You know, I will say this. I mean, Whoopi was rattled. Clearly rattled. I think that was really evident. But the other thing I'd say with the other one is that she's not wrong in that she wouldn't have a job, okay? She wouldn't have a job. Like, The View would not actually exist if they didn't have this wealth of content to go after. And because there's no sort of, sense of decorum, if you would, or a sense of fairness or right or wrong, they just go all in and they become a hate show where they just are hating on him nonstop. And we've seen that, and they become very, very conspiratorial. I've always been struck by, they like to say that those of us on the right, and I'm not like, how do I say this? I'm a very strong fiscal conservative, and I believe in family values and all of these things that, I used to think made me kind of middle of the road and a little bit to the right, but nowadays, like, apparently I'm like super right. Like, and I'm like, is it age? Like, no, it's not. I've always been the same. Like, I've never changed. It's that the world is getting crazy, all right? Really, really crazy. And if you're someone who dares to speak up to this, then somehow you're the problem. You're the conspiracy theorist. It was a conspiracy to say that the coronavirus was created in the Wuhan lab, even though they were testing and manipulating the coronavirus there in the Wuhan lab and had been working on that research for decades, but you couldn't say that. That was misinformation. I mean, every single three-letter agency, except for the CIA, which remains divided on it, they've all come out now and said, yep, it came from Wuhan. If it walks like a duck, talks like a duck, it's probably a duck. But the fact that you are not allowed to share this information, that's what I find really troubling. So the View wouldn't exist, right? If it wasn't for Donald Trump and their ability to go after him and after him and after him. Now, I think it's unpleasant the way they do it. I think it's kind of a lowbrow show. I occasionally show you clips just so you understand the insanity of what's out there, and they're creating this man versus woman thing, and this is supposed to be a woman's show, and they're driving a wedge. Now, it's a free market, and it's a country that still has a First Amendment, so they ought to be able to say what they want to say, and maybe commercially they need to pay the price. I think the show's going to be gone as soon as Bob Iger gets his chance. He's going to sell ABC News, which means ABC News, which conducted the debate. Remember David Muir, very handsome man with perfect hair. Like, somebody said to me, Sean Spicer the other day, he's like, David's like, and I know David, I've known him for years and we haven't spoken, obviously. Like, I don't think we spoke since 2016. I lost a lot of friends in 2016. But I would say he deep down is a nice person. I don't think he cares that much about policy or politics, for that matter. I think he cares a lot about his hair. And Sean Spicer said to me, you know what? He's like an AI anchor. I'm like, that's a good one, right? He kind of is. Anyway, his show, all of ABC News, it's going to get sold. I happen to know that the folks over at News Nation, Nexstar, like they were interested. They've hired a bunch of ex-ABC people over there. They were kind of interested. I don't think it's going to happen just yet because I think a lot of people are still looking at it saying, how do I make money on this? You can't make money on The View because it's gone so down market that nobody actually really even wants to advertise on that. I mean, they'll advertise on it more quickly perhaps than, say, a Fox show, which just shows you the way of the world right now. But still, it's gone so down market and it's really expensive to produce. You have those big salaries for all those people like Whoopi and Joy. and you have a big giant studio audience, and you have all the people that have to arrange the studio audience, and the people that have to hold up the signs that say laugh now, clap now, they're like audience managers. So it's expensive. That show's going to go away soon. Mark my words, as soon as that company gets sold, whoever comes in to buy it is going to say this is too expensive. As for World News Tonight, I mean, if David Muir will take a pay cut, maybe he'll stay on. They'll realize they can do this so much more cheaply, as so many of us individual creators have realized. I mean, this is the changing media landscape. So you got to get with the program, or you're stuck in that old media landscape.